All right, we're joined now from the North Lawn of the White House by President Obama's senior advisor, David Axelrod. David, thanks for your time tonight.
Glad to be here, Keith.
All right, Chris submitted this question and demanded I ask it, so let's go right off the top. When you take this budget into the Senate, are you going to go looking for that 60-vote total, or as he put it, is it going to be presented as a reconciliation bill?
Look, I'm not going to. I'm not going to deal with that right now. I don't think the American people are particularly consumed by the procedural questions. I know that's something that in Washington people get consumed. But what people are worried about is, are we going to move this country forward? Are we going to deal with the things that the president spoke about tonight? Are we going to finally do something about the punishing cost of health care, about our energy crisis, about how our kids sliding behind other kids in competitive countries around the world? Are we going to put a budget together that helps advance our economic agenda and build a better future for this country? And that's the question. Believe me, as he travels around the country, not one person asked him about budget reconciliation.
Well, nevertheless, obviously the practical questions of how you get this done and get it done with the other houses of the other branches of government are essential. But to your point, this is a decided effort to view health care, to view the greening of the nation, or re-greening of the nation, and the restructuring of our manufacturing industries, all as sort of feeder routes into an overall solution to the economic crisis.
Well, I think there's no question about it, Keith. As the president said tonight, we can't go back to the bust and boom economy, build a future on overheated housing markets and maxed out credit cards and high-flying schemes on Wall Street. That's not going to work for us. We need a sound foundation, and you get it by building the energy industry of the future. Right now, we're engaged in a competition with countries around the world, and we're not poised to win it, but we can win it if we tend to it. We got to deal with health care. It's crushing families and businesses and the federal budget, and over time it's just going to have a more and more corrosive effect as our population ages. And we know that the country that, as he often says, the countries that out-teach us today will out-compete us tomorrow. These are the, we spend so much time on the transient here in Washington. What we need to do is focus on what's going to present an opportunity for long-lasting growth, and that's what we're focused on here.
All right. Well, to that point, something from his opening remarks, the quote about the budget: "It will build our economic recovery on a stronger foundation so that we do not face another crisis like this 10 or 20 years from now." Along with everything else and the restructuring of the economy and green and everything that goes with it, and health care and everything that goes with that, will it not also take re-regulation, the rolling back of the deregulation of the 90s and early in this decade to accomplish that? And when do we see motion being taken on that?
It surely will, and in fact, I think Secretary Geithner appears before Congressman Frank's committee on Thursday to address this issue. There's no question that we need enforceable rules of the road for our financial markets that are up to the challenges of the 21st century, so we don't have the kind of problems that we've seen, and they need to be enforced. They need to be enforceable rules, and that is an integral part of an economic recovery, and it's something we're going to pursue vigorously, and we're going to ask other countries around the world to join with us in this, because, as you know, these markets are now linked, and we need everybody to be rowing in the same direction.
A question about the AIG bonuses, and obviously the president got a laugh here when he was asked about why he didn't respond immediately with umbrage by saying it took us a couple of days because I like to know what I talk about before I speak, which is a new thing for many of us who cover the White House. But another thing about bonuses and AIG and otherwise, the New York Times reported tonight that those people who once worked for financial firms, who may be working now for the White House, some of them chose to give up their bonuses from those financial firms, but the administration did not force anybody who was in that position to, in fact, give up those bonuses. Do you know of anybody in the White House now who kept their year-end bonus, and is the administration rethinking its policy on that point just because of the way it looks?
I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of people's finances, and I don't think we're going to start sorting through everyone who's worked here and examine that. Now we're trying to deal with some larger issues, which is how to get this country moving again. We need the talent that we have. Obviously, if there were some egregious examples, we would deal with them, but we haven't. I know of none. And right now, our problem isn't that. Our problem is that we've got enormous challenges. We have to work on them all at once to get this economy moving again, and we need all hands on deck.
All right, and to that, when Chuck Todd asked the president about special sacrifices, he said he didn't see that there was any need to have some huge call to, I don't know what Chuck was thinking the answer was going to be, but he did mention that he wanted people to be paying attention to the debate in Washington, and he said, that's why I've been out front. Did he give away a little bit of the strategy about why we have, in fact, seen him on The Tonight Show, on 60 Minutes, in the newspapers, another news conference, 2 in 6 weeks? Is he basically the I don't know, traffic warden in this, trying to get everybody's attention, saying, look, we have to all deal with this, at least pay attention to it?
I think whenever we've had great challenges in this country, it falls to the President of the United States to make the case for solutions and fight for those solutions and engage the American people. And that's what this President is doing. There's no secret to that. But I was interested in Chuck's question because I have been traveling with the President, and wherever we go, what I hear are stories of people who are having a tremendously difficult time and are struggling through this economy. And I think I don't think that the problem is that they're not sacrificing enough. I think people are looking for a way through this. They love this country. They want to contribute to it. They want to work. They want to do what Americans do best, and they're seeing their opportunities close down. We've got to turn that around, and that's really what our mission is now.
All right, so what does that mean specifically? Because I don't know when the President developed his personal flow chart on this, the one in which you take grassroots desire for change, you turn that into political power, the voice of the people at the ballot box, and then you transform the political power back into a kind of a grassroots action to make change happen. I mean, he said this essentially in a speech at my high school in 1991. It's been a concept in there for a long time. How does it apply now to the American public in a time of economic crisis? What is grassroots action during an economic crisis?
Well, I think the important thing is that you don't want the debate to be kind of contained within the echo chamber of Washington, where the priorities are sometimes skewed and the emphasis is in the wrong place. You want the voices of the American people to be heard, because when we travel around, what we hear from the American people is about the things that we're talking about. It's about the cost of health care, obviously job insecurity, about the need to be able to send their kids to college so they can compete in the future, those kinds of questions. And that's where the debate should be. So often what happens here is that it becomes a kind of game of who scored points this day. It's almost as if every day is an election day in Washington. We want to make sure that everybody in this town hears from the American people so that what we do reflects their priorities and not the kind of skewed priorities that sometimes come out of the discussion in the Capitol.
Yeah, and you've only had 64 days of it. David Axelrod, the White House senior advisor, spending the back end of that 64th day with us. Great, thanks, sir.
Good to be with you, Keith.